Boom. And what is going on, everyone? Wolf Manga here. Welcome back to the channel. I'm super excited that you guys have tuned in for this one. And in today's video, we're going to be taking a bit of a different approach. It'll take a bit of a different format, in that today will be dedicated towards me talking about things that I kind of wish I knew before getting into this whole manga collecting hobby of mine. For those of you who have been following my journey, many of you know that I've been collecting manga for about a year now. And looking back, there are a lot of things that I wished I had known or had done differently going into this. So if you're thinking about starting your own manga collection, or you're just curious about my 2 cents on the manga collecting process, then I sincerely hope this video does provide you with any sort of value. And hey, if it does, then please make sure to drop a like and subscribe to the channel if you're new. Now, the points I'm going to be talking about today are not necessarily in a specific order, but I do think they're all very important in my opinion. And so without further ado, guys, let's begin. Number 1 on today's list is going to be creating a vision for your manga collection. Now, what am I talking about? Well, let me ask you a series of questions. What kind of manga collection do you foresee? Do you want to go heavy on the Shonen Jump titles? Do you want to give it a predominant theme? Is there a specific way you want to organize it, such as by genre, by mangaka, by publishing company, by color, by demographic, and so on and so forth? How do you want your manga displayed? Are there specific shelves you want to buy? And the list just goes on. And just keep this vision in the back of your mind as you continue to collect and search for different series. All right, folks, and the second thing I really want to emphasize here today is stop buying manga at retail price. You know, I get it, guys. You walk into your local Barnes & Noble or a Kinokuniya shop, and you see these absolutely gorgeous manga volumes. Their spines are so sleek, so beautiful, amazing color palettes, and you're just super eager to just grab all of them, put them in your cart, and do a fancy little manga haul for your TikTok or your YouTube or whatever it may be. But here's the issue. What happens if you start to buy all of your manga at retail price? I, did some online searching, and based on my personal experience over the past year, most manga volumes in the US tend to run for around $8 to $15 depending on the series you're getting. And so let's just suppose, we don't know anything about box sets or omnibuses, and we just wanted to collect the entirety of Attack on Titan, which has 34 volumes at about $10.99 a pop. With 34 volumes in total, buying everything at retail price would ring you up for about $373, and that's not even including tax. Now, of course, it's really easy to kind of overlook this sum total price because a lot of times we collect series over multiple trips. But the fact remains that you're still spending the same amount of money in the long run. Of course, occasional in-store or retail price shopping is perfectly fine. But from one manga collector to another, I really encourage you to be very mindful of where you get your manga from, as well as how much money you're putting into your journey. And so in general, I tend to recommend the following online sources for buying manga. First and foremost, my personal absolute go-to for buying manga is RightStuffAnime.com. Basically, Right Stuff Anime is an online manga and anime merch retailer that sells a predominant amount of their manga for sub-retail prices. And the great thing about them is most of their volumes come in excellent condition, as well as they have a very good packaging process. They take really good care of the manga that they ship out to their customers. Now, before I give you any more details about them, it should be noted that free shipping on their website doesn't go into effect until around a $75 threshold in your cart for the United States. I believe it's about $250 or so for Canada. Please correct me if I'm wrong. And so the take-home message for Right Stuff is I typically recommend it if you're buying manga above these thresholds. So Right Stuff Anime is great for buying manga in bulk. With that in mind, most of their manga tend to run for a couple to a few dollars off of their retail pricing, which significantly adds up if you're collecting those larger series like Attack on Titan or maybe a Shonen Jump title and so on and so forth. So looking back at our previous example with AOT, currently, Right Stuff Anime lists their volumes, their single volumes, for about $8.79 a pop for the Attack on Titan manga. Doing the math, this ends up being around $300 for the entire collection, assuming everything is in stock, which is about $70 cheaper. That's a good chunk of savings in my opinion. And of course, Right Stuff also has plenty of other sales opportunities and discount opportunities that you really want to look into from time to time. I myself am a Right Stuff affiliate, so if you are personally interested in buying manga from Right Stuff Anime today, please make sure to use my affiliate link down below in the description box. Again, you're going to get some amazing prices for manga, and basically it just helps support the channel, and you'll be able to see more manga content just like this video and a variety of other ones too. But with that said, transitioning to some other sources, you can also check out eBay, Mercari, I believe, or in-stock trades. Now, these are 3 sources that I personally have never bought manga from, but I've heard other manga tubers talk about them from time to time, so I would definitely explore your options with them. And from my understanding, oftentimes you can find manga for sub-retail prices on there as well. Lastly, there's also the manga community on Reddit called Manga Swap. Basically, this community attracts people from all over the world, all over the country, to buy, sell, and trade manga through its users' listings. You know, in terms of buying, prices are, of course, at the discretion of the seller, but oftentimes you might be able to negotiate pricing a bit. But transitioning to a minor side note in terms of saving money with manga, make sure to also look into box sets, which oftentimes run for a cheaper cost per volume for their entire set. And with all that said, guys, I'm sure there are plenty of other resources that I neglected to mention, so if you do have other things that I didn't mention today or you wanted to elaborate on, please go ahead and leave a comment down below. And so that's that, guys. Remember, minimize, not completely avoid, but minimize buying at retail price. All right, folks, so number 3 on today's list is gonna go along similar lines, and that is don't be a shopaholic and stop buying at an alarmingly faster rate than what you're reading. I know this kind of goes without being said, but to be quite honest, I never really ingrained it in my mindset, you know, from the get-go until like recently in the past few months. A lot of the times as manga collectors, especially new manga collectors, I know I did this a lot at the start, we tend to like overbuy manga really quickly, and then we ultimately don't read it as fast as we want, and so it ends up just collecting dust on the shelf. But just a simple thing to talk about here is if you can just exercise a bit of restraint when you're shopping for and collecting manga, and you buy manga predominantly, gradually, and purposefully, then you'll be better off down the line. You know, some simple things you can do right now. Number 1, minimize those Barnes & Noble trips. You don't want to constantly go there and just have that temptation to buy things all the time. Number 2, I would recommend turning off or unsubscribing from those like email lists, especially from, you know, places like Barnes & Noble, Right Stuff Anime's website. And, you know, obviously I'm not against, you know, Barnes & Noble or Right Stuff sales. I absolutely love Right Stuff especially. But I know, especially for new manga collectors, you know, you get really eager to just jump on and hop on those sales really quickly. And you kind of think like, oh, a deal like this will never happen again, or this is a once in a lifetime deal, or, you know, I'm not going to see this come around again. But to be honest, guys, in most cases, they're bound to happen again in terms of sales. And so while I'm obviously not against hopping on those amazing sales opportunities, just know that you don't need to shop in every sale every time. I would say maybe the main exception here is if they're doing a sale and they're selling something that's out of print, soon to be out of print, or something along those lines, and it's for a really good price, then maybe you want to hop on that. And the last thing for this particular topic is I'd advise setting a budget for yourself, especially when you do your manga hauls. Now, make no mistake, I'm no money management expert whatsoever. I'm not a guru. I don't know, you know, I'm still navigating my way in adulthood. But I find that it really helps to just sit down, write down all of your income and all of your expenses, your recurring memberships and stuff like that, and just see how much money you can save away, even if it's just a little bit, to just go towards your manga collection process. Again, every time you buy manga, you don't need to have this massive 100+ volume haul. And you know, small hauls need love too, guys. Now, of course, it's your budget to set. You can make it as low or high as you want, but of course, do make reasonable choices with your lifestyle and finances. So number 4 on today's list is going to be the Shonen Jump app and digital reading. As many of you guys know, Shonen Jump titles, especially the popular ones, tend to run over a myriad of volumes. Take series like the Big 3 or One Piece specifically. You know, I think this manga has over like 100 volumes currently published. So just imagine the crazy amount of money you'd have to fork up. Even if you got everything from Right Stuff, or you got it all in omnibuses, or you got it all in box sets, that's still a crazy amount of money you'd have to fork up. Now, this is why I highly encourage people to check out the Shonen Jump app, where you can access a wide variety of Shonen Jump titles digitally, as well as access up to 100 chapters a day for only $2 a month. Now, there are plenty of other ways to access or purchase manga digitally, such as, you know, Amazon's Kindle app, but the predominant point I want to make here, guys, is you don't need to collect every series. And with this in mind, I would highly encourage you to recall that vision for your collection. Now, for someone like me who wants to predominantly collect, you know, things like seinen, artwork heavy, or, you know, really deep and emotional series, then, you know, it's probably not wise for me to physically collect things like One Piece or Naruto. Now, can this change later down the line if I get into a Shonen Jump or a Shonen phase or something? Yeah, of course. I do enjoy a healthy amount of battle shonen, but it's not something I want dominating my collection, especially considering my limited space, as well as my limited money. Ergo, I found it a better option for me to read most of my Shonen Jump titles on the Shonen Jump app, with a few exceptions, of course. And number 5 on today's list is please try to avoid blind buying manga. Now, once in a while, this is fine. You want to treat yourself to a random series just to kind of check it out, right? But one of the mistakes I would make routinely over the past year is I would end up buying starting manga series that I really had no idea about going into it. Now, I'd buy series based on the cover or the title, or somebody said it was a great series or something like that. And oftentimes I would end up buying 1, 2, 3 volumes of a given series like that, but I would either postpone reading it to the point where it started to collect dust, or in cases where I ended up disliking the premise, I was out, 10, 20, 30 bucks, which of course could have otherwise gone towards series I was more serious about collecting and knew about. And so there's not too much to say on this, other than I would advise maybe checking out some synopses, some spoiler-free online reviews of a given series before you make your purchases. Now, of course, you can always sell your manga later on, but it doesn't change the fact that you still spent the money in the first place. And of course, you can probably check out some chapters online, just kind of give yourself a preview. And one more small thing on this note, many series, they have a lot of explicit, inappropriate, graphic, or disturbing material. You especially want to look up some synopses or spoiler-free reviews on those, especially for series like The Flowers of Evil or Berserk or something like that. While I love those series, it's not made for everyone. And if you blind buy those series, and if you can't handle that type of material, then you might be in for some issues, and it probably wasn't the smartest choice. So again, just make sure you have an idea of what you're getting into. All right, and number 6 on today's list is track the manga you collect as well as read. The larger your manga collection becomes over time, the harder it is to remember which volumes you need to buy, which volumes you already have, series you've already read, what point you stopped reading it, and so on and so forth. And so in order to keep yourself more organized on these matters, I highly recommend doing 2 things. Number 1, I would recommend tracking your reading status on something like MAL, My Anime List, where you can kind of keep records of your reading status, score, and so on and so forth. I like to use MAL for scoring purposes as well as just keeping track of where I am in a given anime or a given manga. And the second thing I'd encourage you to do is create a spreadsheet of all the manga you buy and collect. And of course, you want to update the collection log as you collect rather than, have this massive collection and then create a log, because that'll take forever. So if you do it as you go, you're going to be so much better in the long run, in my opinion. And so I'll kind of give you guys a little preview of mine. And so as you can see here, this is my personal collection spreadsheet at the moment. Of course, you can organize it however you like, but I find the most important fields to log are title and creator, how many volumes you own, the total volumes released, whether the series is completed or ongoing, the specific volumes you have, and you could even argue you can track the money you spent here too, which I know some manga tubers do. I've also considered a separate section in this log for the series in my collection that I want to sell, as you can see here. And so overall, I think having things like a spreadsheet to track your manga collection, as well as having some kind of service to track your reading status for a given manga series, I think these are very valuable tools you can use for yourself to really help keep yourself organized. All right, the 7th thing I want to talk about today is moving your manga. And my personal 2 cents on this is, to be honest, you might be better off hiring movers if it grows to a large enough collection. Of course, you don't want to strain yourself hauling all your manga from one place to another. Or I would recommend when you start packaging your manga in those boxes, try to get more small or medium-sized ones. And so recently, guys, I moved my manga collection from my dad's home to my current college apartment. And the process was quite interesting. Basically, I moved about 300 or so volumes in 2 boxes, and they were really large ones. And while my car was able to hold it all, and while the boxes were able to fit all the manga, I ended up running into this issue where it was extremely awkward to pick up. Now I was strong enough to carry the weight, but it was so awkward to hold. And this is why I recommend doing those medium-sized boxes. It'll be better and safer. And on top of that, when I was using those really large boxes, they started to rip. And luckily no manga was damaged in the process, but it could have been a catastrophe. Oh my goodness. So moral of the story, guys, hire movers if possible. If not, get helpers if you can, and really take into consideration how you are going to move the manga. All right, the next thing I wish I knew at the start of my manga collection journey was about sunlight damage. Now you're gonna hear this from pretty much every manga tuber that you run across. So I'll keep this point rather brief. Basically, if you routinely, consistently leave your manga in the sunlight, then over time it starts to yellow the pages and damage the spines. And so generally speaking, I would highly encourage you to get like a tarp to cover your manga, close the blinds if that's a better option for you. If you don't care about displaying your manga, then of course keep your manga in like a closet or, a place devoid of light. For me, my go-to method right now is just kind of keeping the blinds shut. I would like to kind of get a tarp to cover my manga collection as well. And of course, I open my blinds on occasion, but I routinely keep them closed. All right, the 9th talking point today is knowing how to sell your manga. Sometimes as collectors, we want to try out new series, but sometimes they don't always stick with us. On top of that, what happens if we want to downsize our collection? Whatever the case may be, it would behoove you to explore your selling manga options. Now, to be perfectly honest, I am no expert in the manga selling process, but I can kind of give you my personal go-to method for selling my manga when I want to downsize or get rid of a collection. My personal manga selling method is through the medium of the Manga Swap Reddit community. Now, again, this is a massive community of manga collectors from basically all over the country and all over the world that buy, sell, and trade manga through the medium of this Reddit community. Sellers can list their prices for whatever they think is fair. And the great thing about this from the seller's perspective is manga does sell rather quickly, usually. It's heavily moderated. There's lots of rules to follow. If you don't follow those rules, there's, repercussions. There's a record kept of scammers and so on and so forth. And you also have to pay through PayPal. But you know what? I myself have had pretty much only positive experiences on this platform, and maybe I could make a video on it if you guys would like me to do that. And of course, guys, there are other options that you can explore, like putting up stories on Instagram that you're selling some manga. You can also sell on Facebook Marketplace, I believe, as well as sites like Mercari, eBay, and there's probably a bunch of other ones that I'm missing out on right now. So I definitely recommend find a convenient selling method for you and just kind of keep that in the back of your mind in the event that you do need to sell some series. All right, and the final note I want to talk about today is a bigger collection isn't a better collection. Bigger isn't always better, and the wonder of manga collecting isn't so much how much space you can fill up with manga volumes and manga shelves, as it is about the therapeutic and joyful qualities it brings into your life. Be it small, medium, or humongous, it really doesn't matter as long as the series you collect are meaningful to you. Over the past year, I have completely fallen in love with the process of collecting manga, and I've found such amazing series that I truly cherish in my heart. It is for this reason that I display my collection in such a way so as to bring a part of my personality, my struggles, my values, and my interests to the forefront of those viewing it. Silly as it may seem to others, it's simply one of my ways of saying I was here. And so that's pretty much it for today's video, guys. Now, I'm sure I didn't cover everything you need to know before starting collecting manga, so if you have any tips, advice that I didn't mention in this video, please feel free to comment down below, because this is such a great community, so let's all help each other in our own journeys. And so all in all, I hope this video was rather insightful and helpful for you. If you did happen to like it, please make sure to like, comment, subscribe, turn on post notifications, and as always, guys, thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.